to the We Grow Together podcast, where we believe that our collective growth is the key to unlocking our individual potential. I'm your host, Laura DiFrancesco, entrepreneur, corporate attorney, investor, and founder of Dean Street Law, Flourish Co-working Space, Ethereal Farms, Laura DiFrancesco, LLC, and a few more. In each episode, I'll be sharing solo insights and engaging in thought-provoking conversations with community leaders, entrepreneurs, and innovators. Together, we'll delve into inspiring stories, best practices, and tactical tips, all rooted in our philosophy that we grow together. Our mission is to support, educate, and celebrate billions of women and entrepreneurs in the pursuit of their dreams, embracing their most authentic self, and living a well-lived life. Join me as we explore entrepreneurship, lifestyle design, wellness, and a lifetime of learning. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, a seasoned business owner, or someone looking to design a life you love, this podcast is for you. Tune in to the We Grow Together podcast, because by sharing our stories and learning from one another, we can achieve more than we ever thought possible. Welcome back to the We Grow Together podcast. I am so excited for this incredible episode about being golden brained, which I had never heard of that phrase until we started preparing for this podcast. I had a wonderful message from Christina, who requested more information from a prior podcast she'd heard with Shannon Missimer on the Motion of Gratitude podcast, how I was talking about being both left-brained and right-brained, both creative and analytical. And she was asking for me to share more about that balance in life of being left-brained and right-brained. So thank you, Christina, so much for this podcast. It is dedicated to you. I hope it's helpful. And thank you so much to everyone who's listening. Please, if you have any podcast episodes that you'd like to request, I would love to hear them. Be sure to drop them on my latest Instagram post at Laura M. DiFrancesco so that we can incorporate any topics that you want to hear about. I do have some notes here because I want to make sure that I cover all the different aspects of this. I did have my team members come up with some questions to ask me as well with respect to this so that I can really dive into this topic in greater detail and make sure that I really hopefully share as much as I can about it to support you and inspire you in your journey. So golden brained, I had never heard of this term before my team members started to research it in preparation for the podcast. It's very cool to think of someone who best utilizes their left and right brain. I personally think that every single person has the aptitude and capability of fully utilizing their left and right brain. While we may have certain predispositions and certain things might come easier to us, I really truly believe that so many different aspects of our development in terms of aptitudes and skills are really just muscles that we exercise over time. I did not know that I was so creative until I experimented and tried and succeeded and failed and pivoted and learned more. And I truly think that what you feed and what you fuel will prosper. The seeds that you plant in your garden of life, whatever they may be, whether it's creativity or analytical brained processes, all of them will thrive when you give them more opportunity to thrive. I've always been both creative and analytical, but I also truly believe that my investment into both of those areas have been why they've been so prominent and why it's so noticeable that I am both left-brained and right-brained. So before we talk about it, let's talk about what the left brain is versus the right brain. So your left brain person, and I always flip these, by the way, so this is a good thing we have them written down. The left brain person is analytical, logical, and methodical, whereas the right brain person is creative, artsy, and emotional. And the person who is both is called golden brained, who uses both sides of their brain equally. And so some questions that I received from the team are, why is it important to acknowledge and cultivate both sides of our brain in personal and professional development? And how would you define balance between the analytical and creative parts of oneself? With respect to why is it important to develop both, I personally think that it's two sides of the same coin, just like it's both sides of your brain. And imagine how incredible you will be as a person, how much better you'll be as a partner, executing your ideas, bringing your dreams to life in your career, in your business, whatever it may be. Imagine how much better you'll be if you are running on all cylinders, if you have everything at your disposal that you can utilize. So I am very intentional about developing my brain. I love learning so much. There's probably nothing that I've spent more towards in my life investing in myself than learning. And that is learning and developing that right side and left side of my brain. I truly think it's one of the best pursuits that we can have in life is investing in ourselves, because when we invest in ourselves and are the best version of ourselves, we're also the best version of ourselves to others, to our partners, to our families, to those who support us and love us, and those who we support and love. And we're the best version of ourselves for the world. And I truly believe that if each of us show up as the best version of ourselves, and that is done as a collective, imagine the impact that that could have. One person has a domino effect on the world. One person is that drop in the pond that just ripples across time and space and generations. That impact that you can have as an individual is so incredible. Imagine if we all had that impact, if we all were working to be the best versions of ourselves. I think that our society would so drastically change for the better. It would be mind blowing. It would be incomprehensible. So I love being a right brained and left brained, golden brained person, because to me, why would I not invest in having the best resources available to me? And ourselves and our brains are the most incredible resource that we have in the world. So why not having them both function at their highest potential? Plus, it's so much fun. It is so much fun to be creative, to be able to express yourself, to have ideas, to have visions, and to be a badass, to be able to go into a meeting and understand at a high level what's going on, to be able to dive into something analytically, to be able to parse it apart and argue it and understand it. It is incredible. To me, it excites me so much. I love the person I am with both sides of my brain functioning and firing. It excites me and I love it. And how do I define the balance between analytical and creative parts of oneself? So I think of it as two sides of one coin, or your light and your dark. And in order to create a painting, don't you need both? In order to have a majestic work of art that you create in the world, don't you need all of your materials? And so I don't define it as balance. I define it as a masterpiece and work of art where you're using all of your tools and colors and resources at your disposal to make it come true. So to me, it's not balancing the two. It's not one versus the other. It's how can I apply each in every way that I can think of to bring my dreams to life, to effectuate the change that I want to impart upon the world. Anything in your life, whether it be fashion or job or fitness or anything on your heart to do, anything in your relationship, every problem, every situation can be looked at and analyzed in such a myriad of ways, both analytically and creatively. And so to me, it's the expression of both at the same time, the jumping back and forth, the integration holistically throughout your life of both, that is what truly makes the most impact. I think if you had to choose one or the other, if you were trying to find a point of balance between both, you would be holding yourself back and trying too hard to manage something that I don't think should be managed. I think let them both flourish. Let them both have the impact that they can have on your life and your world. The next questions are, how did being golden brained help you create flourish? As with everything, there's going to be things that require analytical aspects, your list making, your fine details, and there's going to be things that require your art and your passion and your expression. So when I walked through Flourish, it was my right brained, my creative side that said, and this is going to be the living wall, and this is going to be the long tablescapes, and this is going to be the archway, and this is going to be where we have beautiful standing desks that James made for me. He's incredible. And it was my vision that initiated it, but it was my analytical side of the brain, the left side, that created then the to-do lists, that analyzed every little issue and navigated those, because building a business that you've never been in before, let alone never created before, it will certainly test your ability to analyze and think of solutions. And I truly believe that creative solutions are the best solutions. So using that analytical side of the brain and figuring out what the issues are and analyzing it from every little angle, and then using your creativity to come up with solutions, that is why I've been able to negotiate over $10 billion of transactions at Dean Street Law since founding Dean Street Law, probably well over 20 billion or 30 billion of transactions in my career as a whole. That's why I've been so successful as an attorney, is because I don't create a solution from my one side of my brain. I look at negotiating and deal making from both sides of my brain. And that has been tremendously helpful in my legal career, in my business career, in my entrepreneurship, in bringing my ideas to life. Truly, it's that vision and that creativity and that solution, while also looking at the analytical side of things and the execution and the fine-tooth comb detail. So I think both of those truly help me in navigating everything that I do. In Ethereal Farms, I had that same vision of what the farm could be, of what the Airbnbs could be, but financially, I was going through them with my left side of my brain, which is the analytical side. Financially, I was running the numbers, I was modeling things out, making sure that it made sense, making sure that the investment was going to pay off. So I use it in every single aspect of my business. And it's so incredibly helpful that both of them play a part, whether you think of it as a masterpiece coming together as a piece of art, or an orchestra where you need all the sounds, whatever it is in the analogy that makes it make the most sense in your world. I think that we need both. And I think that we should fuel both, and we should truly invest in both our creativity and our analytical side. I will say I'm obsessed with Sudoku, and I absolutely loved the LSATs had this section called the logic games, which are pure left brain loving. And the logic games, I got 100% on the LSATs in logic games, which I think is hilarious, because I literally did the logic games for fun. It's something called the Logic Games Bible. And I finished it once and I went back for more because I loved it so much. It was so fun. And I've always loved math and analytical aspects of business and finance and everything like that. I was a finance major. I triple majored in undergraduate in international business, finance, and real estate. And I think finance probably had my most left brain aspects to it. So some of my other questions from my team are all about balancing the analytics and creativity. Do you ever face challenges when it comes to running 5 businesses and choosing which side of your brain to listen to? Is there a specific instance that you can think of? I never find that the different sides of my brain are telling me different things. To me, they're all feeding me information, and I'm thinking about things in every different way. I am constantly scenario planning in my mind, different things. If I'm building something out, if I'm working through an issue, I'm constantly running through scenarios in my mind. When I'm working on legal projects and documents, I'm constantly scenario planning on how every single word can mean a million different things. And to me, they're not one versus another. They're a whole working together to help me be the best version of myself and be the best attorney that I can be, the entrepreneur that I can be, the person that I can be in various aspects of life. So it's all feeding me information that I'm automatically compiling in one cohesive image in my mind that is both analytical and creative. And then what is your mindset when going about an analytical decision, a creative one? I think truly that decision is so influenced by both that I don't see them as being different. In terms of creativity, I have so much passion and excitement. I do have to temper that. And so my creative side can really go wild. And I do think that if there was any balance between the two or any conflict between the two, it would be that I can get so excited about doing so many things and then I need to go back through, but I never hamper my excitement or my passion about something. I always let that run free and run wild. And then once I've seen my whole vision of what I want, then I say, okay, tactically, how are we going to implement this? And so it's actually a huge part of my lifestyle design. I didn't even realize is my vision setting and my meditations and writing and visualization that I do in terms of lifestyle design is probably all of my right brain creativity. And then once I have all of those things on my heart, visualized, and I write them down and I know what they are that I want to pursue, then I go back with my left brain analytical side and say tactically, how will I bring these to life? And I just start doing every single thing that I can think of to bring them to life. And the tactical side of me will eventually say, now we do have a finite amount of time and resources and energy and attention. What do we want to prioritize? But I will never take anything off of the table that I want to work on. I will just defer it to another season of my life. So for me, they're never challenging one another. They're complementing one another in the execution and realization of my dreams. The number one question I'm asked is, how do I do all of the things that I do? So I made a course, workshop, and workbook sharing all the details. Unleash your potential with the Wild Ambition Lifestyle Design course. Transform your dreams into reality with guided vision setting, storyboarding, journaling, and all the tools that I use to bring my dreams to life. With over 100 lessons, 200 plus pages of workbooks, and lifetime access so you can return to it whenever you need, you'll have all the tools that you need. Empower yourself with actionable steps to create the life you've always desired. This course is the blueprint to achieving confidence, success, and fulfillment. Join our community of ambitious individuals committed to living their most authentic lives. Start your journey today and enroll now to dream and live with wild ambition. Do I ever feel conflicted in a decision? For example, what you want to read or whether it should be fiction or nonfiction. I do actually constantly have so many things that inspire me and that I want to do. So I do have a lot of conflicts when you're talking about the more minute aspects of it in terms of what I want to read. And so I never judge myself for that. I truly think that we should give ourselves permission to be every variation of ourselves that feels good. And I love reading so many different books. I can tell you, I just went on a road trip, and during my road trip, I created a reading list. Let me tell you the reading lists that I came up with. I want to read books on Native American culture and history. I have 10 books I want to read on that. I want to read books on presidential history. I just went on a road trip out west from Salt Lake City to the Grand Tetons, to Grand Tetons to Yellowstone, Yellowstone to Mount Rushmore, to the Badlands, to Rapid City. Ooh, Lake Geneva, Wisconsin was so fun. Madison, Wisconsin, Chicago. So I did go on a little bit of a presidential trek for the 4th of July. It was really fun. So I want to read presidential history. I want to read more about wildlife in Yellowstone, geological history. I had no idea how many geological aspects there were to Yellowstone. It was so cool. And so that's where my mind goes. And I would love to just continue that process and continue to learn all different phases. I love fiction. I love nonfiction. I love classics, poetry, fantasy, business, self-development. There's so many books that I read. Oh, equestrian. I read so many different horse books, animal training, animal behavior. All of those inspire me and excite me. And so I don't put a limit on it. I just read 5 to 10 books at a time, and whatever inspires me or whatever I'm in the mood for, that's what I read. I just read what I read as it inspires me and as it makes me happy, and then move on when it doesn't, whether that's on page 2 or page 10 or page 200. It just doesn't really matter to me. I don't think that we have to be so stringent with ourselves, especially for things that we do for fun. So I think there's so many things in the world, so much rhetoric in the world that says we have to be this one person, we have to do this one thing, we have to pursue one thing in our life, in our career. I think you can tell, having 5 businesses of my own, I just don't prescribe to that. I truly think that when we allow ourselves the opportunity to be all of the different facets of ourselves that we want to be, to express our creativity, our analytical side, that is the best thing that we can do for ourselves. When society came up with the idea that we should do one thing, it was very beneficial to society and during an industrial revolution for us to do one thing. But prior to that, we had the Renaissance period where people did so many things. When I think of some of my favorite authors, they were poets and they wrote political pieces and they had different nonfiction as well as fiction pieces. And I truly think that as a Renaissance woman, I thrive, and I truly believe that so many other people can thrive embracing how they're a Renaissance as well. Because to me, when I have spurts of creativity and I'm making my dress and I'm writing my books and I'm creating things in the world, that is recharging all of my analytical side of my brain. And when I'm spending hours and hours on legal projects and deep in the weeds on different provisions, and it's exhausting my analytical side of my brain, it's fueling up my creativity. And so when I am able to bounce from one thing to another in my business, from creative to analytical in my business, it's fueling one another. And it's also giving those different sides of my brain a break so that they can continue to build up and fulfill that reservoir of creativity and energy, or analytical energy, so that it's ready for the next project. It's ready for the next thing that I want to work on. So to me, being balanced in that way and allowing myself to express all the different things in my life that make me happy, that fuels my energy and gives me even more energy and purpose on the next project that I'm working on, because I feel so fulfilled and sustained by expressing both. Ready to turn your entrepreneurial dreams into reality? Join our 60 Days to Launch a Business course and gain the essential tools, strategies, and confidence to start your own business. Guided by expert insights and practical steps, you'll go from idea to launch in just 60 days, or less. It's up to you. The course includes lessons, homework, and the 60 Days to Launch a Business guide of over 100 pages of exactly what I've done to start more than 5 businesses, taking you from ideation to post-launch celebrations. Take the leap of faith in yourself and build the business you've always envisioned. Enroll now and start your journey today. And then the next question is, in what ways does balancing these two aspects lead to more innovative thinking and solution? And how does this balance benefited your entrepreneurial journey? Truly, it has benefited me from every aspect that I can think of. Having the best version of myself in an analytical and creative way, and the harmony that those can create together have not only created opportunities for me, have created solutions for me, have helped me navigate the incredibly diverse terrain of being an entrepreneur, of being who I am in the world. So I don't think that there's any other way that I would do it personally. I think we should all invest in both sides of our brain and best utilize them. Give yourself time, let yourself fail. If you don't think you're creative, challenge yourself on that. I think if you don't think you're creative, I just think that either you're not giving yourself permission to be creative and you're not letting yourself fail, or you're not allowing yourself to invest in the proper education of how to let that creativity shine. If you go through an art course with a good art teacher, you will be incredibly impressed how artistic you are. But if you don't have any instruction on how to express those ideas or how to be artistic, then of course you may doubt how artistic you are. But if you give yourself the opportunity to shine, let yourself quote unquote fail. I truly don't believe there's a thing as failure, but if that's what you're thinking of it as, let yourself fail, because all it is it's not failure. It's just investing in your next version of yourself, investing in who you want to become. And whether that is painting or going to a class or doing some pottery or interior design, whatever form of creativity makes you happy, go for it. And I would let go of any mental chatter that you have that you're not good at analytics, that you can't do math, that it's just not your thing. Everything is challenging the first couple times you do anything, no matter what it is. And you are certainly capable of doing things analytically in a more precise way, in a more mathematical way. I truly believe that if you gave yourself the patience and love and support internally that you need to do hard things a few times the first time, you'll get really good at it. To me, if I were you, the way that I would start investing in your analytical side of your brain is to start creating checklists and timelines and to-do lists for your greatest dreams and ideas. I think that's a wonderful investment of your time and energy, and it's very analytical. It's not that you have to be doing trigonometry every single day to be analytical. It's those things where you take ideas and map them out and make them expand and bring them to life. That to me is being analytical in a really productive way. So I encourage you to try both of those things if you haven't invested in yourself in these ways, because there's only benefits that can come from it. And the next questions are with respect to practical steps to achieving balance. So we talked about how to cultivate both sides. I really encourage you to do that. And also be reflective and self-aware. It's okay if you don't feel that you are the most creative or analytical person. It's totally fine. If you feel like you have an opinion on where you stand in those realms, that's okay. I would just encourage you to be very self-loving in your self-reflection and say, even though I may not have previously expressed my creativity, maybe I can learn how. And that might be as simple as watching some YouTube videos, watching others who inspire you. Personally, my Instagram is 99% inspiration. And that's what I use social media for, is inspiration. I love Pinterest. I love social media. To me, it gets my ideas going. And while I would not sell things that replicate anything that anyone else did, that's a really big recipe for disaster, for intellectual property infringement, as the attorney has to tell you. I would recommend that if you're not creative, if you don't feel creative, just replicate what someone else has done and just start to exercise that muscle. You don't have to be Picasso and world-renowned innovator to be creative. another way that I really recommend getting into creativity is using templates or tracing something. So if you want to paint and you feel like you're not creative enough to paint, use a paint by numbers. Who cares? Who cares if you drew it? The most important thing is that you're creatively expressing yourself. Use paint by numbers, use tracing, use shortcuts to make it accessible for you. If you're having trouble being analytical, ask ChatGPT to help you create a list of something. Use tools and resources that you have at your disposal. They're there in the world for us to use, so why not use them to help you continue to develop these muscles and be the best version of yourself and be golden brained? Who knows? And then the next question I received from the team is, how can structured activities such as setting aside specific times for creative work and analytical work help in achieving balance? For me, because their expression comes so naturally, I don't necessarily block off creative versus analytical time, but I do block off entire days to create things in the world that I want to create. So my Tuesdays are my creative days, and that's when I write. It's when I create things in the world. But for me, other than that day specifically where I'm creatively expressing myself on purpose, I don't block them out per se. But what I do is I think of situations where I thrive best in different scenarios. My creativity thrives best in active meditation. So in the shower, on a hike, anything where I'm doing something with my body, but my mind is somewhat not as engaged, or it doesn't have to be as engaged. So that's when I come up with my greatest ideas. So when I'm writing a book, I don't just try to force myself to sit down and write a book. I walk and I dictate my book into my phone while I'm walking, because I know that those activities paired together help my creative brain shine. And I also know that my analytical brain really shines without interruptions. And so when I am traveling, actually on a plane is the best time that I can get analytical work done. Or if I'm traveling and someone's driving and I don't need to talk and I can just work on my laptop, that's another time. Other times are when I don't have any service. So when I go to parts of my farm that don't have any service, those are phenomenal also for having the analytical side of my brain shine, because it doesn't have interruptions. So I don't necessarily focus on blocking off certain parts of time for different things. I focus more on creating environments for success for those areas of my brain that I'm going to be utilizing more for a certain activity, and then setting myself up for success by utilizing what I know will help my brain succeed in those scenarios. So either no distractions, or getting outside and walking, or doing some sort of active meditation while I'm creating. Those help me a lot. And I truly believe that we can all continue learning for the rest of our lives, and it's the best thing that we can do for ourselves. Investing in ourselves, investing in our learning and education and journey is a wonderful pursuit in life that I truly believe in. It's one of my biggest investments I make in life. So whether you're learning from watching others, listening to this podcast, or reading books, I do have my book club at Amazon as well with my favorite books. So if you want to read some of the books that I really recommend, happy to share those with you. Through our channel, we have the book club. You can sign up for it and get our books that I recommend. And then we also have the Amazon with all of my favorite books as well. Whether it's listening to people who inspire you, or consuming their content, or learning more about them, or reading books, whatever it is that you find is a great way for you to invest in learning, I encourage you to do so. And learning can also be through doing. Experiment, give yourself grace, have fun with it, enjoy working on different sides of your brain. Let yourself just shine and explore and have fun with it. It can be such an incredible journey to work on yourself, to work on your creativity and analytical side. As long as you give yourself grace, love yourself throughout the process, encourage yourself, be your best cheerleader, know that I am cheering you on every step of the way, you can really, truly have an incredible evolution of self. I'm so excited for you. I hope that this episode has been helpful in sharing how I approach the left and right side of my brain, helps you learn maybe a new word, golden brain, that you might not have known before, like myself. And I hope it inspires you and supports you in your journey. If it does, please be sure to give it a 5-star review and share with your friends on social media. Tag me at Laura DiFrancesco. And of course, let me know in my latest Instagram post what you would like to hear on the podcast as our next episode. Thank you, Christina, so much for submitting this episode request. I'm so excited that we could bring it to life for you. I hope you enjoy. Cheers. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the We Grow Together podcast. I hope today's conversation inspired you, provided valuable insights, and brought you closer to your more authentic self. If you enjoyed the episode, please be sure to give a 5-star review and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. Also, be sure to screenshot and share on social media whenever you can. Sharing your support of the podcast really helps us to grow and continue making episodes just like this. You can see all of the links in the show notes for more access to guides, all of our social media information, resources, how to connect with us. And I hope that you join us in the next episode where we'll be sharing more innovative ideas, stories, all with our philosophy that we grow together. I'll see you in the next episode.